Good evening and salutations, my B&B fans. I'm going to be honest, if you didn't watch this today and you're waiting for 8 o'clock to watch it on, Paramount Plus, just don't. Just don't. Because it's going to be 19 minutes of your life that you're never going to get back. Um, oh my god. Where do I start? Oh, Sheila being weird, and Taylor, who is supposed to be the so-called, really good psychologist, someone who's gonna read, Sheila and see if she relapsed. Here's the thing: this woman has just barged into your office multiple times and is sitting there talking about, oh well, Brooke is a bad person, you're better, and you're happy. I'm so happy for you and Rich. You can finally be together. This, that, and the third. Listen, it doesn't take a psychologist to kind of realize just how creepy that is. That somebody is coming in your office and is overjoyed with you being in a relationship with somebody else. Okay, this isn't normal. This is like fan fiction, but just going the extra mile. And that's what she's like. She's like this fangirl that keeps coming in there and being like, oh, I'm just so happy for you and Reg. You're finally together. You deserve to be happy. And I'm just so happy for you. And I'm like, Taylor, even people who are not psychologists, psychiatrists, whatever, can get a really bad vibe. Anyway, you know, um, Sheila starts dumping on Brooke, and Taylor's like, no, she has a sickness, and if we can get to the root of her cause, the root of the problem, we can sit there and fix it, and yada 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 yada. And then after that, she leaves, and she's like, oh, I hope that Thomas didn't say anything. I hope he didn't say anything. Of course, Thomas comes in there, and I mean, at this point, do I even really have to sit there and say what Thomas decides to do? Well, here's the thing. Tom is like, I didn't say anything, but I'm very conflicted. I don't like Brooke, but what you did to her was wrong. Yeah, I mean, I saw it cool and great and everything like that, but the end result is still going to be the same. You may not like Brooke, and you may not like what Sheila did, but you're going to sit there and choose your family and your dad's happiness over what happened to Brooke. Because it's just going to be the same thing over and over again with Brooke. And that's what he was meant to talk about with Ridge. When Ridge was like, "What's going on? What do you mean, bro? You've been acting sketchy as hell. What do you mean? What does he mean? He wants to know what's going on." So of course, Thomas makes some sort of lie like, "Hey, I just want to make sure that you're gonna be with mom for good or whatever, because um, eventually you always go back to Brooke and this, that, and the third, and." So at this point, Rich just kind of takes it as, Thomas is being overprotective of his mother, and, he reassures him that things are a lot different now. I'm sick and tired of playing the games with Brooke. First it was Dollar Bill, then it was Deacon, laying in our bed. I'm not with it anymore. So yeah, he tells this lie, and of course, Rich believes him. And like I said, Rich is like he's not about that life anymore with Brooke. And granted, this time he did sit there and say, one of us messes up, and then we just forgive each other, and it's just the same thing over and over again. And I can understand that. There's only so many times you can sit there and just keep doing the same thing, well, having craziness go on, and just keep getting back together. Like anything's going to change. So I get that. And yeah, so Thomas is like, I don't like it, but he's just going to agree to um, continue on with this lie because, reasons. There's good reasons behind why he's okay. Well, I wouldn't sit there and say there's good reasons because let's be honest, there's never really a good reason to lie. But I understand his motives for not saying anything. The fact that Sheila kept grilling him like, "Well, you're not going to say anything. You should be thanking me this, that, and the third because I helped you." And yeah, he's really on his hands and knees sitting there thanking you. So Paris is well. Zendaya asked for Paris, input as far as a new design or whatever, and she says she likes it. And of course, Zendaya's like, oh, you're my muse, and I'm like, bro, is this type of talk that kind of led Paris into this whole we should just be casual because of things like that. But I mean, again, to be fair, Paris has been kind of doing him dirty, which is hilarious since she was going at her sister for the same reasons, more or less. Um. Anyway, there's nothing talking, and Carter comes in, and Zenny is like, "Listen, I've been having a hard time since they're talking to her. So maybe with your help, we can kind of just figure out some stuff." I'm like, "Whoa, bro, did you just ask him to stay in the room with you so you can communicate with Paris better?" Because that's what I got, and if that is the take, if that is what's happening, then this is maybe you should just call it quits. Um, and he asked one thing, and I couldn't remember exactly what it was, but he did sit there and ask her, "Are you seeing someone else?" And she doesn't say anything. And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Mm. My whole thing with this whole Paris and Carter thing, if she's all in for Carter and this, that, and the third, then she should have no problems if they're being honest with him. This is one of the biggest things that a lot of people are having issues with her. If you would just be honest, if you would sit there and say, "Oh, I'm dating someone else," um, I mean, to be honest, she should have just said something from jump with Carter. But she didn't say anything. She literally said nothing. And then Zendaya is not there tripping over himself, apologizing for so called putting her on the spot after the whole Sequoia thing. Like, oh, would you be upset if, I'm sitting there seeing Sequoia? Bro, she doesn't look like she's upset. I'll actually tell you the truth. She almost looks relieved. What are you talking about? But, he's all like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to sit there and put you on the spot. No, I think that's a very fair question. He knows that you're Smith in Sequoia, so why, why the secrecy, Paris? Oh yeah, because you're just immature. I was sitting there trying to find the right words because I was like, I did not want to be a dick and say one of my usual mean things, but I cannot let her get off the hook. Now, after that whole thing happens, it's funny too because there's one point where Carter's like, "Well, I can kind of see that you're, kind of in the middle of something with her, and I really shouldn't like, be here. I just came to grab something." I'm like, "Carter, what's your rush?" And of course, Zendaya's like, "Oh, I really appreciate our friendship." I'm like, hmm. Of course, Carter just sitting there looking him right in the face, smiling like you are the definition in this moment. You're the definition of a snake. You would sit there and smile in this man's face, in a lot of ways, stab him behind his back. You know what you're doing is hurting him. You know what you're doing will hurt him. But you have the audacity to sit there and smile in his face. And then, of course, when the whole thing blows up, then he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I should have told you, but, things was kind of complicated." And he's going to come up with this um, BS story that we're supposed to feel sorry for him. Anyway, there's one point where Carter gets home and he kind of realizes he's off his game because he didn't get a file, and he kind of realized that he didn't sit there and tell this guy to send him the file. So he's just, all over the place. He's like, oh, I need to wake up. Bro, tell me that's salsa water and not beer. Because I don't know about anyone else, but beer has never, ever, ever woke me up. Now, if you would have had coffee, I'm like, all right, cool. So he drinks, I'm assuming beer at this point, unless it's salsa water. He's going back to work, and he's hearing a knock on the door, and he's trying to ignore it. He opens the door, and it's Paris. And Paris is pretty much wants to force himself on Carter, and Carter just kind of goes along with it because reasons. And of course, Paris is like, well, he seems to call you, so there's nothing wrong with what we're doing. Really, sweetheart? Because if there was nothing wrong with what you're doing, then you would have no problem sitting there, being honest with Zende because you have nothing to hide. I mean, you're not doing anything wrong, right? Yeah. So of course they make out and they do the little thing, and Zacharias that they kind of flirt with Paris, and you got Paris's pathetic mother who is vicariously living through her daughter, and it's just all sorts of weird. Like it's funny. Um, well, okay, I wouldn't sit there and say vicariously living through her daughter, but she is just being overbearing and controlling, and it's just weird. It's weird. I've seen certain parents vicariously live through their daughters, and it's just a mess. Anyway, so she is she's outside the door listening. Now Zende kind of blows her off. Sequoia wants to kind of hang out, and Zende's like, "Listen, I got stuff to do. I got deadlines and this, that, and the third." And of course, Grace comes into the room. This woman has no class whatsoever. She is cold as ice to Sequoia, which practically was just like, "Hi, how you doing?" or whatever, and she's just being cold as ice. And I'm sitting there thinking, this woman seems like she's very traditional and very, very traditional or whatever. And you honestly gonna sit there and tell me that you think it's um like proper to walk in a room and be as cold as ice to someone simply because you don't like them dating your daughter's boyfriend, which they're not even serious about? It's amazing when people's morals and high grounds goes depending on their feelings. So anyway, she leaves, and Grace is like, would you have really let deadlines and things like that stop you from seeing Sequoia? And I'm like, well, if you're a reasonably responsible adult that actually has a career and deadlines to do, yes, you would sit there and do the deadlines first, and then party afterwards. The hell kind of question is that? You're supposed to be all traditional and values and stuff like that. Yeah, whatever. Um, but of course, she's like, you just blew her off because you want to sit there and spend time with Paris. He doesn't say anything because that's what he wants, and yeah, that's the thing. It's funny too. When I was at the deli, when I was coming home at the deli, get my sandwich or whatever. I saw the scenes with Grace and Zende, and I was like, oh, I almost forgot those two were characters. Been so enthralled in they've been showing the whole Logan's and um Forrester thing and stuff like that going on with Taylor and Brooke and Ridge. I forgot about you guys. Where have you been at? Oh yeah, doing the exact same things that you've been doing um 2 weeks ago or a week ago, whenever the hell they showed you people. Because clearly nothing changes and they are just doing the exact same thing. This is exactly why I wasn't there saying in the beginning, I was like, listen, if you're waiting for 8 o'clock for this show to come on, I'm gonna be honest, just watch my review. Or watch I know her name was CDL, and I think she changed her name to Chelsea something with a D. Like, watch her review, okay? Watch anyone's review other than watching that episode because it is 19 minutes of a waste of everyone's time that no one's going to get back. So thank you, CBS and the writers who decided to grace us with this whatever this episode was. Um, I think that's and Ridge, goes to see Taylor, and they talk about Thomas, and they just talk about how happy Thomas is. So there's nothing to worry about. Yeah. Anyway, with that being said, I'm gonna go. I want to thank you for watching. Be safe. Limited to throw in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next video.